So, in this session, we are going to talk about ethics in research. So, this is a very important topic when it comes to research. So, what are research ethics? So, research ethics are a set of guidelines that we follow, that we should follow when we are doing research. So, crossing ethical lines are kind of uh, it has happened many times. So that is why we try to cover this area when we are teaching research, because sometimes we do certain things without knowing, and sometimes we do certain things by knowing. But we should know this ethics, because without this, our research can get out of hand. We might, if we do something unknowingly, so to avoid that only, we try to learn this ethics. So certain ethics we are just common sense. Like for example, when we say give credit where it's due, so give credit to a person where it's due. So say for example, you are taking somebody else's, you're going through somebody else's research. So when you look at it, you get an idea for your research. So in your review of literature, when you do your review of literature, you have to cite that person. So you have to say, I took this person has done so and so, and that is what helped me to do my research. So the least you can do is you have to cite that person. You have to give citation to that person, right? So then taking somebody else's work and claiming it as your own. So say for example, uh, there is an already existing research, you're just copying certain lines and rephrasing it, so no plagiarism detector will find it, and then you present it as your own idea. So this is a no, you cannot do something like this. The best thing to do is give the credit to them. So you need not invent the wheel, you need not reinvent the wheel. You can just say this person has already did this, I am planning to do that from in a different perspective. So that's always the genuine thing to do. So if you take somebody's work, you have to give them credit, citations. You have to uh, give them citation. You cannot say it's your own work. So again, very important theme that I'm recently dealing with is AI. So as students, it's very easy for us to give something to AI, or not even give anything to AI, and then say generate certain content on this, and AI gives us the content, and then we just put it in some software like Spinbot or something, or Humanizer. We use some Humanizer, and then we present it as our own ideas. No, do not use AI for your research, especially for writing, because again, as times are getting harder, it's easy for you to use and it's very tempting. But the least you can do is uh, not use it for writing purpose, maybe for review of literature or something like that. You need to collect data, you need to look through vast databases. Maybe you can use it there to reduce your workload, but you cannot use it for writing. It is not ethically right. But can you get away with it? Yes, most probably you can, but that is not ethically right. You cannot do that. So then certain examples like, do not use people for your advantage. So say for example you are doing a research on some politically sensitive topic. So you shouldn't use the people's name. You shouldn't use the person's name. Or say for example the person is below 18 years of age. We'll come to this later. So it has to be anonymous. You have to follow anonymity. You cannot say this person said this unless there is a reason for you to quote that person. So it's better to have anonymity, especially when you are dealing with certain sensitive topics. So, say for example, you're dealing with the research on people who have anxiety or something like that, or people who have been bullied. So, in that case, you cannot reveal the details of those people, or at least you should get their consent before doing so. So, you can use the data, but you have to make sure it doesn't hurt the person in any way. So, the best thing to do is avoid collecting people's name if it is not needed. So unless you need their names for a certain thing, it's better to have anonymous uh, surveys, or not get their names, or use, like for example, case 1, case 2, case 3, like this, instead of or respondent 1. Use words like this to replace their names, because if it is going to get back to them in certain way, then you are to blame. So it's better to have anonymous things, especially if it is very sensitive. In scientific research this might not be a case, but in social science research this is very important. So whenever you are dealing with minors, people who are less than 18 years of age, you have to be very careful. You have to get consent from the parent or guardian to involve them in a research. They cannot decide for themselves. So you cannot do a research on kindergarten kids without getting consent from parent, teacher, if you're doing it in school, school authority. So you have to get all these people's permission, and of course finally the most important thing is the kids' permission as well. Without that, conducting research on kids is highly, or even minors, is highly unethical. Even if they are 17 years of age, you have to inform their parent and get their consent. And again, it's better to keep these things anonymous. So whenever you are getting data, whenever you are collecting data, it's very easy to falsify data. It's very easy to falsify data. So say for example you have collected only 100 respondents. You can simply copy it and paste the same thing in a random order and say 200 respondents. But you shouldn't do this. This is a very bad practice. Falsifying data is a very bad practice. You cannot indulge in these practices, because basically you are just lying, right? So you cannot indulge in falsifying data or manipulating data for that matter as well. So falsifying is, there is no data, you're just creating data. But on the other hand, there is data, you're just changing certain things so that you will get a positive result for your research. So manipulating data, that is extremely unethical. So even if you get a negative result, even if you say it's not a positive finding, that is better than manipulating your research and having a positive finding. So again, it is a very unethical practice. So plagiarism, taking somebody else's work and claiming it as your own work, copying something from somewhere, just rephrasing it and using it as your own work. So plagiarism detectors like Drillbit or Grammarly has one, and then Turnitin. So these plagiarism softwares will not be able to detect it if you rephrase it enough, right? But why would you want to copy somebody else's idea and claim it as your own? You wouldn't want to take somebody else's child and say it's your own child, right? So just like that, ideas are also people's children, right? So don't take somebody else's idea and claim it as your idea. So it's best thing to do is cite that person and say it is his idea, and I got my idea, it was derived from this idea. That's the better way to go. So these are certain uh, ethical rules or regulations that a person must understand when they are doing research. So as an exercise, what you can do is come up with case studies, case studies which case studies which come up with uh, which deal with ethical violations. So look up different ethical violation case studies. There are many examples, like for example, Stanford prison experiment. This should be in social science, but okay, even science is fine. So Stanford prison experiment or twins experiment or the syphilis study or Tuskegee experiment, like this. There are so many other case studies. So you just go through certain case studies for ethical violations in science and social science, and you can make a list of those things. You can go through certain case studies. Thank you.